Basketball Talk Pro. Well, I wanted to go back a little bit to actually to the beginning of Basketball Talk Pro. When I started Basketball Talk Pro, I was trying to fill a void for coaches because I had gone through that aspect of it. I knew that there were hundreds and thousands of coaches that had no way of getting information, learning little things about what a coach does. And as I said, I was one of those. And so my idea was that maybe we can help that by being available to coaches, whoever wanted to watch the show, because a lot of coaches don't have an opportunity to meet with people that have been in coaching a long time to help them. And so my very first segment, very first one I did was called "Every Coach Needs a Mentor." And I still feel that way. Basketball Talk Pro can go so far to giving you information, filling in the gaps, so to speak. But I realized that coaches needed somebody to talk to. I told them a personal story of how I had just been hired at the University of Minnesota as an assistant coach. And my summer duties were to go to as many clinics as I could and meet coaches, kind of, get to know coaches in the area. And I did go to this one, and I met a friend of mine who had serviced me as a Converse person, Johnny Norlander, and we sat together for part of the clinic, and he said, "Why don't we meet back at the hotel?" There really was only one hotel in this town, and I'll meet you at the bar. I said, "Okay." We met, we're talking, and all of a sudden Al McGuire walked in. Well, you may not even know who Al McGuire is, but he was, at that time of that clinic, he was the hottest thing in NCAA basketball, college basketball. He had just won the national tournament and the NCAA tournament, a tremendous figure in basketball. Well, he and Johnny Norlander had played on the same Knicks team, so they were very good friends. Johnny invited him to dinner with us. I didn't even know I was going to dinner with him. But he said, "Fine, so we went into the dining room. I had 5 hours with Al McGuire. Poor Johnny Norlander never hardly said a word. He paid for all the drinks and the dinner and everything, but he just sat back. I was a young coach, and he wanted to help, and he did help me a lot. That 5 hours, I learned more about basketball and how to coach basketball than I did any clinic. Actually, I don't hardly remember anything from any of the clinics. They weren't of value to me. But what he talked to me about was of value. He talked to me about things like how to handle your stars, how to deal with outside people, how to practice, how to do a lot of things like that. We never drew a drill, we never drew a play in that 5 hours. But he literally awed me. I, like all young coaches, thought I knew most everything about basketball. I didn't need much help. But after that 5 hours, I realized how far behind I was and how much I had to learn. So when we did Basketball Talk Pro, I remembered that. And of course, through the years, I've met now many, many fine coaches and had a lot of fine talks. But at that time, it was very important for my growth. I don't think I would have grown without that. without that session. But for you that maybe don't have that opportunity, I wanted to talk about this a little bit. You need a mentor. You need somebody you can talk to, somebody you can get advice from. But it's not easy to get a mentor. The first step, and the most important one, is to get the right person. Don't take that guy in the next town who doesn't know any more than you do. You want a mentor that is much higher than you. Otherwise you wouldn't need one. This is the man that's probably put in 20, 25 years of experience, who has been successful. You don't stay in it with 20, 25 years if you haven't been successful. And will be able to answer honestly and accurately the situation. That's your first step. The second step is to get one. Now you may find, I'm sure a lot of you guys would like to have Phil Jackson as your mentor, or I don't know, some of the big name college guys as your mentor, maybe even just one of the big names in the state in your high school, if you're a high school coach. But they're not easy to get. You don't just walk up to them and claim them as a mentor. And so that's the second thing, is finding the right one. The second thing is getting one, getting the right one. So if you don't, you know, an obvious place is, not all of us had that opportunity, as if you played for a great coach. There's a guy that if you played for him, generally you're going to get assistance from him. And but don't, just because you played for a coach you liked, don't undervalue yourself. You may know as much as he did. You like him, but is he a coach that really has expanded himself, knows a lot more, has more success? If you're not, then I would say keep looking. How do you do it? Don't just call people up and say, you know, what about this? What about... You might get one call in on that, but after a while, you know, it's going to wear a little thin. You have to build a relationship very slowly, very carefully. When I realized, well into my coaching career, that I would like to have, or needed, somebody that I could go to. There was one coach that I wanted to have a relationship with, that I could talk basketball with. That man was Dick Motta at the time, and still is. Now he's retired, you know, he's out of basketball. But at that time, that was the guy for me. And I just couldn't figure out a way to do it. But finally, I just happened to luck into a situation. I was at a summer league in San Antonio, and Jerry Sloan had just taken over a team in the CBA and wanted to talk to some CBA people. I was the only one there besides him. So he came over and asked me some questions, and we talked, and we got to know each other. Well, he played for Dick Motta, and he was on his way to Dick Motta's training camp. And I told him, I just was honest. I said, boy, Jerry, that would be something I would love to be able to do. He said, I'll call Dick, I'll get you in. And he did. And I went to Dallas and watched the training camp. And we went to dinner with Dick Motta 3-4 nights in a row. And we talked. We got to know each other. But you see, it wasn't like I was pounding him for information. I just got information because we talked a lot. Two basketball people that I don't care how you start the conversation. You can talk about the weather or wives, whatever, but it's going to come back to basketball. And that's where you learn. That's where you hear the thing. It may not answer the direct question you have. You have to be patient. Let it happen. Don't just keep pushing. Put yourself in the background a little bit and start to realize that this man's busy. You know, does he have time to spend all this time with me? You might be surprised at how much time he will spend with you or her if you get to know them and get a relationship. Now, we didn't, as I said, we did not ever, with Dick, I got to the point where it was no problem for me to pick up the phone to him and say, you know, Dick, I got a problem with this one player or this one situation. You know, what do you do? And he would gladly tell me. But, you know, we'd known each other for 2-3 years by that time. Dick Motta actually got me in the NBA. Got me my first full-time job in the NBA, worked for him. And so, you know, now I did have a lot of access to a coach that I had deep respect. Since then, you know, Jerry Sloan and I have become very good friends, and you know, I learned a lot from him. I've learned a lot from Phil Johnson, the guy that he worked for him. So I've had a lot of opportunities since then, but they came about through building a relationship. And I didn't mean to build a relationship. I didn't go out and say, boy, I got to start networking. I've never networked. I just get to know people on a good basis, a basis of interest in basketball and wanting to learn, willing to learn from them, not trying to put my ideas across, but listen to theirs. I hope, you know, it's a very difficult thing to really put your finger on. With Basketball Talk, I've actually tried to do mentoring. I've tried to get other coaches that are in Basketball Talk Pro to mentor, to help, and to get mentored. And so I'll continue to do that. But I wanted to give you a little bit of advice on maybe how you could go about it. Find a guy that's really good, that you really respect, much higher than you. Build a relationship and just learn from him and listen. Don't try to tell him all you know, because you don't know much compared to him, or you got the wrong guy. Listen to him, what he has to say, and follow what he has to say. Well, that's it for today. I'm hopeful that you can walk down that road where you can find the right guy, and the right guy is